So guys, we're live with video number 4 now.
Video 4, yeah.
I can't believe how quickly these videos are going. It seemed like yesterday we started this. So welcome guys if you're watching back to this. In this video, we're going to be going over...
So talking about the meta and how it changes, what the current meta is, how do you predict it, how do you work against it, how do you plan for it. So
should we quickly recap last week's call?
Yeah.
So last week, obviously, it was all about playtesting. So this is going to lead on really nicely to that. So did everyone get the playtesting guide or sheet on how to do that?
Yeah,
that got sent out.
To
so you guys can use that now as a template. And actually, Jack played a game earlier, didn't you?
Yeah, against Mark, yeah.
You played a game against Mark earlier, and we've got a really good example that you can go through, and you can bring that up as well. So we can share that.
So I hope I'll get that. I've made my draft notes from the battle. I'll get that polished off probably tomorrow and get it uploaded for you guys.
So you can have a chat about that later, and then you can put up the finalised thing. Do you want to run through that now? Your game earlier.
Yeah.
Because again, it just puts this stuff into practice. So it's all very well the theory side of things, but let's get some practical.
Cool.
So what was the talk us through each part then, Jack?
Okay, so using our game analysis sheet as the format. I've got my new Orc army, which we're working on, which Steve's and Mark are helping painting today as well. So it's roughly based on the list that Mark posts onto the Patreon for the Speed Freaks. So a couple of battle wagons, trucks, lots of boys, some Gretchen, and all the buffing characters and things like that.
And the attack squid.
And the attack squid, don't forget him.
You mascot.
And I was up against Mark's Dark Eldar, which is a new list. So after my SWOT analysis of my list, I figured out that flyers is one of my main weaknesses. So Mark brought 4 for me. And they brought some Ravagers, so stuff I couldn't tag. My whole build's about trying to tag and lock the enemy down, back him into a corner. Dark Eldar was a tough matchup for me, so I wanted to play that, really stress this list. So Mark's list was Ravagers, Flyers, and Dark Eldar Psykers, basically. Eldar Psykers, Jinx and Doom. So the mission was play Chapter Approved 2018, Decapitation Strike.
So it's a Maelstrom.
A Maelstrom of War, and if you kill a character, you randomly get an objective discarded. And the deployment game wasn't very preferable for me, was it?
No.
Hammer and Anvil. So Mark was a purely shooting army, so he backlined his stuff. He's quick. He was on the back line. I was at the front of my deployment zone, but I had a lot of ground to catch up on. And were my skills challenged? Yes. Mark's a good player, thanks to Mr. Box here. Which Mark blames for the whole game.
So every point in which Mark dominated, he was like, you can blame Steve for that, because that was his idea. So passed the buck quite nicely over to me.
Yeah.
Like the Guardian bomb.
So my deployment, I've got a picture, I'll put this into the form. At the time, I thought it was fine. I was on the front line, all my vehicles were going to go piling forwards. I had first turns, I used the Warlord trait to redeploy some bikes to try and get a first turn charge in. And I thought I was fine. So I was going to use the Cold Speed stratagem to move twice with the unit of bikes. I was eyeing at first turn charge, even though Mark was near the back line. So I started moving, declared to play my stratagem. Mark affected it. So my bikes, then the whole shtick of those bikes was completely made redundant. So I moved up, moved all my boys up to mid-table, which I can advance everything. Did a little bit of shooting, didn't really do much, as expected, not a problem. But then in Mark's first turn, he brought all his flyers up and blocked the whole army. Because I'd funneled myself in between 2 pieces of terrain. Being ground vehicles, I can't go through terrain, so he completely blocked me off in its entirety for my turn 2.
Yeah.
So I think that was a mistake in my deployment, because I anchored onto one flank. I should have separated my forces and came both round like this, so he couldn't have blocked me so easily. It was easy for him to do that. So positive reflection of my game, got a unit of 12 tank busters in there, really impressed with them with the more Dakar stratagem. I also put them in deep strike, which I think was the right choice. Even if they're on a truck, I think if Mark wanted to kill them, he could have got them out of the truck and could have killed them, and that's my only real guns to kill flyers.
Yeah.
I was happy with the Ravagers. I was going to charge them, but the flyers were a big one. I was really impressed with the shooter boys as well. The amount of shots that come out of them. So they get 20. So I had units of 10 in trucks, so that's 20 shots each. And then the trucks can advance with no negatives because they're evil sons. So I was quite impressed with that mobile firepower.
Yeah. Especially
Mark had venoms and flyers. I was hitting on 6s, so I was just chipping wounds away. It was quite useful actually, so I was quite happy with that.
Yeah.
So areas for improvement. So my vehicles. So in my game, being wary, getting blocked by flyers. Just thinking about it now, maybe if I was less aggressive in my movement, I could have drawn his flies further down the table, so his Ravagers couldn't get in range. Because he had best of both worlds. I'd moved up, he blocked me, his Ravagers were in range. Maybe I should have held back. His flies come all the way up to here. His Ravagers then can't shoot me as well.
It's really difficult in that situation because you want to push them forward, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's like, I've got 12-inch movement, so I'm going to move 12 inches. Yeah. But really, it could be like, actually, it might be beneficial if I just move 6. Yeah. And that is a real skill to know how much do you do of something, what is the perfect positioning. Yeah, definitely.
Or potentially, now I know this fly thing, making go first.
Yeah.
I use my deployment to bait him. Then I use my redeploy to then drop some units back.
Yeah.
And go, there you go, first turn to you.
Yeah.
Maybe that's so. I think that's why I play test.
Yeah.
Just to see how effective that flyer blocking is. So I've never had that against me.
Yeah.
I'm usually playing tower.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I'm not moving.
Yeah.
And then vet.
Being aware of that.
Being aware of that vet, and Mark using it on the really fun stratagem I wanted to use.
Yeah.
And then there's got what mistakes I made. The big one that lost me the game was the order priorities of combats. So I made, I think it was 4 or 5 charges throughout the thing. I spent a long time thinking about which was the best one. And the key one was I had a unit of boys, we're going to wrap a unit of 20 guardians. And then all my remaining characters and vehicles are going to tag that unit of guardians, so none of it could be shot. So I thought, well, I don't need to kill these guardians, so I'm not going to pick that first. I did some other bits and bobs. But then Mark interrupted, and then he piled out towards my guys, so I can then move to trap him, which means I can trap that unit of guardians. Everything was available to shoot next turn. And that one simple mistake
cost me the game. And you're not sat there thinking, oh, he might spend 2 CPs to fight with 15 guardians because they're rubbish in combat. But the effectiveness is not the combat; it's the ability to obviously, position in such a way that stops you from wrapping. So
So the other mistake was target priority. Got a bit greedy with my tank busters and split and fire.
Yeah, that was one thing when I was listening to, because obviously I was sat painting Jack's army when these two were playing, and all I could hear was some salty rolls going off. I heard Jack go, I'm going to split fire. I'm going to put so many shots on the Razor Wing, so many shots on the Void Raven. And I was there like, no, because if that Void Raven's still alive and he bombs you, then that's massive. Because it doesn't even matter if he's bracketed. He's still laying down that payload.
I took out one of the Void Ravens turn 1, and I should have killed the second one. But I didn't. So it was the second turn where that really came into effect, and I had a whiffer. And didn't do too much. So a bit of target priority, and the key in that second turn for not dropping a second flyer meant I didn't have enough room for all my units to charge through. So it was massive, just being greedy, trying to take out another one. And then my last one was too aggressive, as we've just discussed. Should have been a bit more restraint.
Because I think the easy thing to do in this situation is blame the dice roll. Dice were not in Jack's favour today, by the sounds of it. But you can't really be annoyed at the dice, can you?
No. Because
you made 4 big mistakes here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is what it is. Yes, dice aren't gonna always go in your favor. I am well aware of that.
Yeah.
But I can only be annoyed at the dice if I know I didn't make a single mistake.
That game was down to one mistake.
Yeah, to one vital error.
I don't think it was guaranteed me to win the game from that point, but it guaranteed my loss.
Yeah.
And at that point, I shook hands because I knew all my best units were available for shooting. So I was like, well, there's no point now.
You get tabled, basically,
yeah.
Well, good. I think in guys, it is a real look. Filling out that sheet is 10 minutes after your game, but that's going to be 10 minutes well spent. That in itself will justify the 3 hours of fun you've just had. That makes it. Yeah, you can play a game and have a good 3 hours of entertainment or whatever, but that solid 10 minutes or after a competition, you sit for half an hour. On end of day one, you sit down for 30 minutes and you write down this after the game. It is going to make you a better player. And this is the stuff that the people are not doing. They are not working. They are not sort of hustling at this kind of stuff. They're just playing the games, moving on, and they're not learning from their mistakes. This is where you guys will really become much better players by doing this diligent sort of work. So anyway, let's get on to the fun stuff. Meta.
Yeah.
What is a meta? What? Come on, what's Jack's? What is the meta?
So I define the meta as a meta is a collection of armies that have been optimized based on the current rule set, mission packs, and point values at a given point. So effectively, it's what's the most efficient. What's the hotness? What is the most efficient point for point? And these meta lists are they're rings. Every single point's working, isn't it?
No, let's get you another chair, mate.
It's a bit creaky, is it?
Yeah, let's quickly, because otherwise that's going to be on the video, and I imagine it's quite annoying for people. Just quick shift over, a bit of musical statues, chairs, whatever. That's better. Cool. So I think like the other aspect here is what is popular. So people are sheep; they tend to follow. If they see something good, because something could actually be good, and we've got obviously a really good example of my Death Watch. I was saying, because obviously I'm in the England training squad, I was like, guys, I think Death Watch are playable. I think they're good. Everyone was like, no, Steve, don't be stupid. They're Space Marines, right? So anyway, I took them. I had the bottle or the balls to play them. I did it. And I smashed it, right? And then the England captain's like, oh, I might give it a little look. And Alex Harrison's like, oh, might give that a little look. Manny Chima, oh, Steve, do you reckon I can borrow your Death Watch? So again, there is an element there of what is good, but also might not be undiscovered yet. But the popularity, seeing somebody do well with it, gives other people confidence that it is playable and usable, like the 9 plane list, for example. So, love it.
So I made a quick note of what I think the current meta lists are.
Yep.
So you made the Eldar, Dark Eldar flyer list.
Yep.
So it's pretty massive at the moment.
So you're looking at probably the way that works is you've got a normally like an Autarch Sky Runner. You've got maybe a Farseer on Sky Runner. You've got 3 units of Rangers. Very, very hard to hit. Very easy to hide. And basically what you do is you hide all the characters and you just keep them well behind the or you take a Autarch with swooping hawk wings, so he can jump up into the sky, so he can't even be targeted because he's not even there. Then he just deep strikes down behind planes out of line of sight. So that's kind of what you do with that list. And then you've pretty much got 3 Crimson Hunter Exarchs, maybe a couple of Hemlocks, 3 Razor Wings and a couple of Void Raven Bombers of such like a variety. Sometimes you might see like 6 and then a big unit of scatter lasers that Alex Harrison took to the LVO and obviously came second. And we can talk about that list as well. So that is extremely popular. It doesn't require cover. It can move block knights. It can move block orcs.
It's resilient.
It's very resilient because you just can't touch it. It's got invulnerable saves. It's got the ability to doom and jinx. It's very, very quick. It always scores line breaker. It always scores first strike. It can easily get warlord. So yeah, it's got some really good potency there.
So the next one I've got is the Dark Eldar, so Coven. So either 9 Talos or 27 Grotesques. really tough, really resilient, hits like a truck in combat. Usually, you can't take it down quick enough unless you've got some really good, solid firepower to stop these guys.
Even I struggle with Death Watch.
And they've got access to Vect.
Yeah.
So you've got to consider Vect, and it's really tough and resilient. 4 up Invuln, 6 up Film of Pain.
Yeah.
It's like if someone rolls well with 4 up Invulns, it's so swingy. It's just a very strong list. Next one's Inari. I'm sure everyone knows and loves Inari. Spears, Reapers, Scat Pack coming common now.
Obviously, there's a couple of guys on the mentorship that haven't played too many games yet. So let me give you a quick synopsis of Ynnari as a avid Ynnari player myself. How Ynnari works in a nutshell. I mean, I'll do a full video on this as well when I do another Better the Meta. I think I'll cover it in full. But basically, there's a couple of characters that have to be included. Yvraine or the Incarn. The Incarn is like a flying god. Amazing. I love that model. But Yvraine is the one that normally people, or the cat lady that people take. She has to be the warlord, and it then makes all Craft World or Harlequins, whatever detachment you plug her into, Ynnari. Now with Ynnari, what you're able to do is she can cast Soul Burst onto a unit. Now normally Soul Burst triggers within 7 inches, I think. 7 inches. When you kill a unit in your turn, or one of your units dies and you've got another one of your units within 7 inches, you can then do a Soul Burst action. So let's say your Shining Spears fly up and they hit something in combat. They're within 7 inches of the unit that died. They can then do a Soul Burst. Now a Soul Burst can either be another move and advance. It could be another charge. It could be a psychic power. It could be a shoot, or it could be a fight again. Okay, so you can do one of those things again, basically in the game. So what will typically happen? But once you've done it, that one cannot be used again. And once that unit is Soul Burst, it cannot Soul Burst again either. So typically, your Brain will cast shoot twice on Dark Reapers. So Dark Reapers firing twice is horrible. The Shining Spears will probably move twice because of a quicken power, hit you hard. In combat, kill something, and then either wrap you, or what they'll do is they'll fly away. Okay, so then you can't really touch them. And they basically, with the typical list that you'll see, is 10 Dark Reapers with your brain, and then 2 or 3 units of Shining Spears that basically leapfrog forward, hit you, go back, and then when they die, they just send the next unit in, and they keep doing that basically until there's nothing left. Or they'll take which has become quite popular now since Alex Harrison took them, was basically a big old unit of scatter laser jet bikes. They get 4 shots each, and now with the Vigilus campaign book, you can give them all -1 AP as well, plus Jinx, and then you're at -2, strength 6, 4 shots each, guided, reroll missing, dooming, or all the shenanigans. So is very, very effective. Now, the problem with it, it does rely on some heavy psychic work, and some poor rolls will just be just devastating for you, which is why I had to stop playing Ynnari, because I cannot roll a 7.
Oh, that's the Ynnari?
That's Ynnari.
Imperium Soup with Knight.
Yep,
so you got your Castellans.
Guard.
So like the LVO was riddled with it.
Yep.
Your Law 32 with a Castellan or a Crusader or both, or and the variations are endless. But generally, it's the minimums, your Law 32, and Knight or 2, and then anything else what takes your fancy really.
So what was really popular back in September was obviously a Imperial Guard Brigade, very, very cheap. The Castellan, and 3 Smash Captains from Blood Angels, dirty. That kind of got stopped when things changed, and we'll go on to that and why that list became sort of null and void. Now you're starting to see the Rusty 17 with double or triple Castellan. That's kicking around, which is not a nice list to play. That's about it really.
Just Castellans are great, aren't they?
Yeah, basically guard and Knights.
Next one's Death Watch with Knight.
Death Watch with Knight. Don't know who came with that list.
One that's coming up quite a bit now is Tau Missile Sides and Riptides. So a Battle for Birmingham, this was everywhere, wasn't it? So it's either 9 missile sides or 6 missile sides, 2 Riptides. or 3 Riptides, 3 missile sights, or any combination of the above.
I played it twice at Battlefield Birmingham. One with triple Riptide and a unit of 3 broadsides, and then the other one was with double broadsides and then double Riptide. Manny Chima, if you're not familiar with Manny, he's one of the best England players, one of the best players in the world, actually, I would say. I've never seen somebody win so many tournaments. He typically runs 3 units of 3 broadsides.
And Shadow Sun.
And then he also just puts in about 100 Fire Warriors if possible. So
that's that. Then you've got Orcs, Looters, or a green tide of Orcs.
Yeah. So either your Storm Boys or the Looter Bomb, whatever it might be. And obviously we spoke about this on our Orc video. And if you haven't watched that, go back and watch that. It's obviously just available to anyone. It was an Ask BT about Orcs. Yeah.
And then Chaos. So either like a Cultist or a Plague Bearer spam.
With loads of Demon Princes sat behind.
Loads of Demon Princes of the Baden, so it all gets fearless, and it's just everywhere. It's tough to kill.
Full of smites.
Plug and play Magnus and Thousand Sun Psychers or whatever it might be. Yeah. Just difficult to kill, great ball control. Generally how that list works, isn't it? So it's not designed to kill you as much. Not die.
New hotness though, attack squigs are going to be everywhere, telling you. They're coming out.
So that's generally a good overview of the current meta lists.
Yeah.
So when you're designing your list, you need to start considering turn by turn, how do I kill each? How do I defeat each of these armies? Have I got the right tools for the job?
Yeah.
And that's what we got. And I think you'd be tough to find a designer list that could deal with all of it.
Yeah.
But you want to be able to deal with as many as you can. And what do you do if you can't beat the list in a gunfight? How would you start to deal with that?
So, do you want me to go on to that now?
Yeah. So if you take we'll cover that in a minute.
Okay. Are you going to give this notes? These notes going to be available to everybody?
Yes.
So you can make that into a document and send it out. Yeah. Just so then everyone's got a list of all these things, basically. Yeah.
So my next, that's the current meta. So my next question, point of discussion is, what and how does the meta change? What influences it? So I've broken this down into 3 key sections. First section being new rules.
Yeah.
So that could be through chapter approved, an FAQ, a new codex, or like a Vigilus or a White Dwarf. The next one being new list builds. Example being Stephen Box's Death Watch. Simon Priddes' Piranha list is starting to come through. And
or Stephen Box's new AdMech list, which is coming out soon.
Yeah. Or points changes. Mm-hmm. So break into a bit more detail on that. So, and the new rules. So chapter approved came out. Was it last year's when they nerfed?
Or Chris's Space Wolves. Yeah.
They nerfed Deep Strike Turn 1.
Yeah.
So at that time, Death Company, Blood Angels Death Company were everywhere.
Well, straight away, as soon as 8th edition dropped, you had no boots on the ground happen. So straight away, the 8 Storm Raven list was really, really popular. So basically they nerfed that with no boots on the ground. Then you had like the Razor Wing Flock as well. That got nerfed. That was really hot at one point. The Smite, that got nerfed when everyone was just casting Smite. So it then evolved.
There was the stupid farm. Poxwalker Farm.
Poxwalker Farm, So you can only go up to your starting strength, and then anything above and beyond that needs to be paid from reinforcements points. You've got the rule of 3 that happened last year at Adepticon. So, you can't take, more than people were taking 9 Plague Burst Crawlers in 9 Flying Hive Tyrants. You then had the change to Deep Strike, obviously, like you said, so you can only come in 2 and 2. You then also had the change to the charge phase, so you can only fly in the movement phase and no longer in the charge phase. Then the other thing is that massively hurt Demon Princes, it hurt Custodian Bikers, and then obviously Blood Angel Smash Captains, and also destroyed Harlequins, unfortunately. So that was huge. What else has happened? Obviously, then when you mission packs, people need to design differently to that. I know that doesn't change too much in the ITC, but it certainly does at GT heats and things.
But you can see just that's loads of really good examples there.
Thanks. I mean, I come off them off the top of my head, mate.
Which come through chapter approved.
Yeah.
They come through FAQ. There's an FAQ due next month.
Yeah.
So those meta lists we just described, even on the FAQ, some of those won't be valid.
Yeah.
They'll change.
And it's really important that you guys get the latest. So what we'll do is, as soon as this FAQ is dropped, we'll send you a link to it. So you guys, there's like, for example, one of our friends, Barry, that came to Battlefield Birmingham with us. When I say to him, like, oh, have you seen the latest FAQ? He's like, no. I'm like, how have you not seen that? So it's literally, as soon as this FAQ drops, one of the first things that you need to be doing when you're, got 5 minutes, whether it's on the toilet, before you go to bed, whatever you're doing, you need to read this this FAQ. And Jared's just said here, ITC had a major change in their secondaries. Yeah. Exactly. These are things that if you're playing ITC, you read up on that straight away. If anything GW brings out, you're straight away on the, reading this. And basically, you can expect an FAQ 2 weeks after a codex drops. Mm-hmm. You can also expect an FAQ in April, and then also September, and then obviously the once per year chapter approved, which comes out in November. So they're your 3 dates. GW are very open about all this kind of stuff.
Keep everyone updated on it, on the community page.
So they are things that you need to keep abreast of. And if you're unsure, post it in the Facebook group, and we'll give you all the links that you need. Okay.
So that's those are regular sources.
Oh, and just quickly on the big FAQ as well. I didn't know this, and it took me a while to figure it out, but although they bring out a big FAQ document, all right, so you read the main document, then what you need to read is every single army has an FAQ.
It all gets updated.
It all gets updated. So they don't do it in one place, unfortunately. Do it on each individual. So it will be like Eldar version 1.7 or whatever.
The good thing on the community page, it has the data is updated.
Yeah.
So big FAQ drops, say, 2nd of April.
Yeah.
And then you'll see if your book's been updated, because it will be 2nd of April as well, the release of one.
And then anything in magenta is new. So if you're
it's
keeping...
quite easy to follow once you know where.
Exactly, yeah. So just to give you guys a bit of a background if you're not currently doing that.
So what's quite interesting, like sources like White Dwarf, new rules, the new Vigilus book's going to come out. There's lots of different places these rules are coming out. So just keep an eye on one community. Yeah. Ask us questions. These will start to affect and twist the meta. Some will be subtle. Some will be groundbreaking. Rule of 3. That's it. The whole thing changed overnight, which is great.
Yeah. How many battalions detachments you can take, up to a maximum of 3 now.
Yeah. So that's one place, new list builds. So the example I've got here is your Death Watch list. Yeah. So you monitored the meta, and then you go, right, how do I beat it? And you came up with a new and exciting idea. So this is, these are, you looked at the meta and you create something new. So which people weren't anticipating. So therefore, that's starting the next tournament. People start taking them. People start needing to deal with it.
Yeah. So I'll give you sort of a bit of a backstory behind the Death Watch base. I'm just going to mute Brian. There we go. So basically with the Death Watch, the reason why I created that was basically it was straight after the Orcs dropped. Death Watch are an amazing counter to Orcs. They've got some incredible stratagems that get rid of Orcs really, really well. Orcs bounce off veteran squads as well. They're unable to kill them in combat pretty much. To this day, I'm still yet to face Orcs. It hasn't happened. So the whole reason why I built the list, I haven't even played Orcs yet, but anyway. So I looked at that and I thought, right, the core of my army is going to fight Horde. I could see the ETC, the European meta is very much Horde dominated. So right, let's go against Horde. So the Poxwalker farm, the Cultist spam, the Plague Bearers, Nids, Gene Stealers. That was really popular for a while, like 90 Gene Stealers. Orcs, obviously, and it also does really well against Grotesques, Talos, stuff like that, right? That was why I brought it out. And also Eldar, it can deal with that quite well. And then my only downfall was Knights. So my knights, veterans can't kill. So that is why I brought in the big boy, the Crast Knight, because for 500 points, he deals with that entire problem that I have. And then I just splashed in a tank commander just to seal that deal, essentially. And he can be pivotal and do other things as well. So the tank commander can hit, Space Marines pretty hard. He can hit armored boys up. He can also hit knights, and he can also do a bit of horde if needed with the 2d6. So, and then the other thing I needed was basically a way of keeping smash captains away from my knight. So that's why I took the guard. Veterans are their own perfect screen anyway. They don't really need it. In fact, you want people to charge them, ironically. And you also need to keep your tank commanders safe and also give you those CPs, because the Knight and the Death Watch are very CP hungry. That's why the farm goes in, and also the those 5 from battalion. So look, what I did there is I looked at where the meta was going and I shifted it so that I know what I need to put in place in order to have more successful matchups in the future. Yeah. And ironically, the army I'm really good against is actually knights. I do really well against them. But anyway, so yeah, that's just an example. Alex Harrison did the same with the LVO this year. Obviously, I chat to Alex quite a lot, and we are basically talking about the Eldar flyer list, and he was obviously putting it in the England chat and things, what he should do in the Glasshammer group. And basically, what Alex decided to do was put the scatter bikes in, because he realized that horde really takes out his board control. So what that then we do is we put those scatter bikes in, and then that all of a sudden changes that matchup for him to be more favorable. So again, yeah. And he also then had the wife likes Jack shirt. Yeah, where's your Vanguard Tactics shirt, mate?
Yeah. Oh, okay. It's in the wash.
Poor effort. Guys, we're working on getting you guys t-shirts, by the way. We'll be sending out a form hopefully by the end of this week, so you can order your t-shirts. I found out how much postage was to the States. It was not nice. Yeah. But anyway, we will get it sorted. So yeah, we'll be sending out a sheet at the end of this, so you guys can get obviously your t-shirt that you've been promised, and then also if you want anything else that can be added on. So like hoodies. We're also going to be getting Vanguard Tactics dice as well. That's going to be coming soon. And then we need some battle foam as well. Now I've seen Chris's battle foam, so yeah, that's what I need in my life. Anyway,
right. So that was new lists.
Yep.
The next one's about point changes.
Yep.
So a good example here is the missile size and Commander Shadow Sun. So after the chapter approved,
yep,
Shadow Sun dropped by 60 points, and missile size dropped by about 30 points a model.
That's massive.
Yeah, so Unit 3 broadside dropping nearly 100 points, and Shadow Sun dropping 60. So they were good units already. They had good rules, good units. You drop them down in points, and they're almost coming no brainer. I personally don't like them. I don't like the range, but when you got 9 of them, shoot it, re-rolling all hits, they're great.
I mean, my Stormbolt has dropped and my Storm Shield's dropped from Deathwatch, so instantly I was like, hello. And then obviously what also changes things is like beta bolter rules.
Yeah.
Massive now. Like Deathwatch bikes are a thing. Bikes are back, you know, but that person that takes 3 units of 9 Raven Guard bikes, 3 CPs, move them all up 9 inches before the start of the game. They're all -1 to hit, and then you've got double tap range. So much DACA. So GW are doing incredible things at the moment, and it is really exciting. These guys, you know, hats off to GW. They are doing the right things at the moment, so it's exciting.
Yeah. So you got the next point was like responding to the meta.
Yeah.
I think that was one that you were.
Yeah, so in regards to responding to the meta, okay, so this links back to in our previous, obviously, talking about how do you analyze these games and how do you properly test yourself, okay? So the best thing that you can do if you are interested in knowing how do you better the meta, the best thing for you to do is take this sheet with all the lists in and you systematically play each one, okay? There is nothing like learning than actually playing and learning from your mistakes, okay? This theory stuff is great, but actually practical application is key here, and then also the reviewing aspect, okay? So again, you need to play these lists, all right? For example, the Eldar list. Let's go through each list and I'll give you some ideas on how you can adapt your list straight away.
Yeah.
So again, this goes back to week 2 when we're talking about the SWOT analysis. These are your threats, and then also what are your opportunities to add into things, okay? So straight away, the Eldar, Dark Eldar flyer list. I'll tell you how I did it, and then it might give you some ideas, all right? So I got absolutely obliterated by the Eldar flyer list. They went first, they doomed and jinxed my knight, I lost my knight, and my tank commander turn 1. Game over. I've got no way of killing these flyers. So, opportunities here. I take now when I play, and then I actually played this list again at Clash of the Lions, and I absolutely smashed it, didn't I? So, the difference here was I added in 2 Helverins, okay? Which can reroll hits against fly, pretty good. Strength 7, -1, flat 3 damage. Rerolling hits against fly is really, really good. What I then also do is take the top auto cannons that get +1 to hit against fly on my knight, rather than the one that doesn't need line of sight. That the missile pod thing I was taking, which is like a mortar. Got rid of that. I don't need that. I need the flyer gun. Again, it's good against Ravagers. That can be really, like, Ravagers are deadly to Deathwatch. So that top gun goes on. Now it's only a 20 point, it's only like a 5-point change, but can really make the difference, okay? That top gun goes on, 2 Helverins go in the list. Then what I also do now is I put the Calexis in. So the Calexis assassin goes in, and now all of a sudden she stands an inch in front of my knight, so, or 6 inches if they've got doom, and all of a sudden now they are not going to doom, and they're probably not going to jinx, okay? So straight away that dramatically changes that matchup. If I go second, I can still hit back because they won't kill my knight in a turn. With doom and jinx they will, so that changes that massively, okay? The other thing is, against that list, in the past I normally put all of my units in the sky. This time I wouldn't. I'd put all of them on the floor and then beat a bolter rule there. Just beat a bolt rule them all away, because they need to come close with their hemlocks. They're now within 12 inches, and I'm now going to just put all of my shots in double tapping. You know, like 100 odd shots would take one down. The knight can kill another one. The tank commanders can kill another. The Helverins can add in as well. It would do enough to kill 3 or 4 flyers in a turn, okay? So that's how, just with a few little subtle changes in my deployment, in my tactics, in my list, I can now change that that match to be a win in my favour.
Should we talk about the not necessarily go through all of them?
Okay.
But the Tau one, because that's quite new, and you played it twice.
Yep.
A Battle for Birmingham. So
the Tau, I didn't need to change the list at all. I just needed to change the way I played. So normally I put everything in the sky and I drop down. Okay. This time, what I do is I put my teleport homers to the front of my deployment. Okay, and I deploy everything out of 30. I deploy everything out of 42-inch range. So therefore, if these guys move, they're still out of range, and I'm forcing Montcar, which is one where they
have to advance.
They have to advance, so they're not getting the reroll misses, which is massive. And then if I go first, I redeploy to my teleport homers, and that was a change in the list that I made. I added in a bike to each unit, so that gives me a teleport homer. I can teleport to the front. In like, my opponents are looking at me like, why is he putting his Deathwatch all the way back there? But just a change in deployment, changing one model, all of a sudden means I can redeploy. I redeploy, I then clear away all the screen with my Deathwatch, and then the knights basically and the tank commanders and everything else stays out of 42 inches at all times from absolutely everything, and I'm forcing a model to move into range to hit me, and then I kill it, and then that's all I do. So that matchup is very different, but it needed, because every time we played, you smashed me.
Yeah.
Because I was trying the same age-old tactic that I'd employed first time.
I think it's the key. You touched the key. It's the adaptive play style. You don't always need to change your list.
The play style.
Yeah. You don't necessarily, because you can deep strike, so it doesn't mean you have to do it.
Yeah.
That's a good example.
And again, it comes back to being critical with yourself. You know, an arrogant player would think that, it was just my dice that messed me up, or it was, there's no other way I can play this. I lose this. No. play differently. You know, what is it? The definition of insanity is doing the exact same
thing over and over again.
Yeah, and expecting the same result.
Yeah.
A different result, sorry. No, be different. Put yourself out your comfort zone. Be prepared to get absolutely smashed, because you might just win it.
And that's a good example today. Last time I played these orcs, I played against Dan and his tank commanders.
Yeah.
And the right play is to rush it. Is to fly at tables as quick as possible.
Yeah.
And try and tag these tanks.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the right play against well.
Yeah, and you forgot to attack with your attack squig.
And even we'll watch him get the truck. He's still in there.
So yeah, do think about you've probably got a tool in your codex to tackle something. In fact, why don't we, if you are, we'll work through systematically to the guys on the call. Let's go over one thing, an army that you really, really struggle with, and maybe we can help you very, very quickly. Or maybe it's a game that you've played. Yeah. So we'll start off with Jared. If you could, I'll unmute your mic. Was it Jared that put the picture in the thing the other day?
That's very open.
Yeah, I put one up in the Facebook.
Oh, yes, about the battle report.
And I asked you, did who went first, right?
You asked who deployed first, and it was one of the new ITC missions where you deploy all of your units at once. And he deployed first, so he was going to go first.
Yeah.
And then I followed up with my rebuttal deployment, and then tried to seize, and I rolled a 1.
So because you mentioned in there just very quickly about I think where you went wrong was your target priority. So when I asked that question, who deployed, he deployed first, and there was a few little deployment things that I noticed. So against that matchup, because I think you've mentioned that you put some shots on the land raider, some shots on something else at the back, and you didn't quite kill either, did you?
Yeah, the only reason why I didn't, the only reason why I shot at the Land Raider is because one of my Hellwinds was so far out of range that I couldn't have gotten him there to put anything without putting him in extreme danger.
So that was the thing. What you should have done in that situation, because you can see where he's deployed, you then need to deploy to kill him. So by deploying him outside, because you already know where he is, right? That target. So you had a strength 7 unit trying to kill a toughness 8 vehicle with a 2-up save, and he's only a -1. Like the Helvrin's worst thing is the Land Raider. Obviously, you've got nothing else to shoot, carry on. But in that situation, it should have been here. They should have basically both gone into that thing, which was toughness 7. You're more likely to kill it, and then anything else from that point onwards would dramatically change that, just from that one simple change. But
right.
So anyway, that aside of things, Jared, what is one thing at the moment you're really, really struggling with in terms of the meta? If you had to pick one army that you're really struggling with, what would it be?
Well, the one that I play with against the most is actually a Eldar army, and he runs either 100% LA with triple Hemlocks, a unit of 10 Dark Reapers with the normal accompaniment, but then I recently bought some Yanari stuff, and he goes, maybe I should try that too. I'm like, oh no. So he brought Yanari, he brought Yvrain, and switched a couple things over, and they got worse.
Has he got spears in the list or not?
What's that?
You got shining spears?
No shining spears. He's running 3 wave serpents, 3 hemlocks, the Dark Reapers, and was it 15 Rangers, and then minimal casters.
Okay. So basically, the thing is with that list, what it really struggles with is it's quite durable in the beginning parts of the game because it's really difficult to hit. Okay. So what you can do is basically hide out a line of sight, turn 1. You give him first turn, and you deploy out of range of doom, of anything that needs to be doomed. Okay, so you need to work out the caster's movement and then also its ability to then doom. Then all you need to add into your list is a Calexis Assassin, which stands in. You run a knight, don't you?
Yeah, I run a Crass Knight Lance actually with 2 Helvrin and the Crusader.
So you put that Colexus in the list straight in front. You could even add in also 2 Eversor. You could also add in the 4 assassins that could actually plug in really well for your list, because straight away the Eversor can deep strike in and tackle those Dark Reapers, because the screen of 3 units of Rangers is dreadful. And that also prevents his Wave Serpents from moving up in grabbing objectives. So straight away, he's now having to screen with his Wave Serpents, and you can leave them alone. So even having that one threat of a 3d 6-inch charging character is absolutely massive. It'd be my worst nightmare. Then the other thing that you need is, because what that Dark Reaper player is going to do is going to fire and fade every single turn. What you might want to put in is a Basilisk with the
mortars.
Basilisk with the artillery company thing, so it can fire twice out of line of sight. It can also stay out of range of the
the Basilisk, or any mortars, or the Wyvern,
which
rerolls all the wounds. It's 4d6 shot.
One of the other things, though, is since I am running Space Wolves as my melee deterrent and my counter, they're super expensive for one, and they can be CP hungry, because I'm trying to pay 3 CP to have them fight again to close distances or try to trap things. And of course, I cry every time I get my Wolfen destroyed in one turn.
Just very quickly on this one, they're not going to do, the Space Wolves in this matchup are not going to do anything for you. You can literally forget about that portion of your list, okay? So what you don't want to do, and I think a lot of people fall into this trap, is you're essentially trying to flog a dead horse at this point. You're trying to invest the CPs into something that's not going to do anything for you, okay? You just need to appreciate, like in the Tau matchup, my veterans are rubbish. They don't do anything, okay? It kills a bit of screen, but then I lose 1,200 points of my army. The thing that kills the Tau is the tank commanders and the knight that just stays out of range, and it does it over 7 turns, while the Tau is too busy trying to kill my veterans. So although I don't put anything into the veterans, because they're not going to do anything for me. Your Space Wolves in this matchup are dreadful. They can't fight flyers. They're not going to do anything against a Wave Serpent, and also they're going to be too far away from the Dark Reapers. So use other assets in order to pick out these things. As soon as you basically deep strike your Eversor in against that thing, or even having the Vindicare there, that's a really good deterrent against him bringing out his characters. You can shut down the psychic ability, and your knight will kill the 3 Hemlocks, and then your Basilisks or whatever will kill the Dark Reapers. Happy days. So I think that is a mindset shift that you need to make in this decision. Remember what is useful for you at this point and what's actually holding you back, and it's your want to use these Wolfen, but save them for another game. Okay, they're there to be a bit scary, throwing forward. That's another turn that he's not shooting your knight.
In that game, it's a distraction.
They're just exactly.
You put pressure on. He has to shoot them. So the turn his Reapers not shooting your knight, they're killing his Wolfen.
Yeah,
fine.
Happy days.
Yeah. So as much as it hurts emotionally,
no.
Which because it's your favourite unit, and that's an issue I have.
Yeah. Does that help, Jared? So we can move on.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
We'll try and keep these within around 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Just so when everyone that has come to the call can really get some input as well. But Jared, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Shall we drop on to Sam just in case he needs to?
Sam, we'll go on to you next, as you've obviously got to shoot. If you can come to.
Hello.
Sam, so obviously, what is your biggest struggle at the moment then, Sam?
Orcs. Just with my list, I have limited things to kill a lot of orcs.
You're running a Dark Angels
with a knight.
Raven Wing, aren't you? With a knight, is that right?
Yes, yeah. So I've got the Crass Crusader, and then I've got a squad of 10 Ravenwing Black Knights, which are the plasma ones. A squad of 3 the normal Ravenwing bikes, and a Dark Shroud, and then Samuel, a bunch of scouts, Talon Master, and I'm just adding in some aggressors for the Orc matchup, because I think that's going to definitely help.
It sounds like you've got a lot of, your Talon Masters. Is Samael in on the speed or on the jet bike?
It's on the jet bike. I can't quite afford him on the speeder, but I want him on the speeder so bad.
But then, like, mine's the thing. We said Chaff was Raven Wing bike. We've already got so many points. Getting the rate of fire to kill them. Maybe need to start considering a Calexus, because Orcs need CP, and their CP. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe
hurting their resources basically. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so like my game today with Mark, getting vectored on my stratagem, it really put me on the back foot straight away.
Yeah.
So I think my Imperium list would definitely have room for an assassin.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so good.
So they're just really versatile, aren't they?
Yeah.
And obviously we had a bit of a chat, didn't we, about putting those aggressive on the list, because they're really, really good, sit at the backfield. So hopefully there'll be enough. And again, I think we had spoke before about you were playing too aggressively, weren't you?
Yeah, so I was advancing forward with my Ravenwing bikes, giving them the invulnerable save, and then giving them speed of the Raven so they can still shoot, and then +1 damage on the plasma, just keep going. But then my bikes are in midfield and just die.
Because they don't need the invulnerable save. Orcs don't have anything that's more than a -1. So it's kind of a bit pointless, really. What you're better off doing is them just touching cover, getting 50% obscured or whatever, or keeping them back with the rest of your army so they can't get wrapped. Because as soon as they get wrapped, he'll kill you in your turn, then he'll springboard off you, and then you're in all kinds of trouble. So again, for you to change that matchup is just you need to go and play that game 5 times, and I bet if you came back, you'd be like, right, I got it sus now. So I don't think it's like your list isn't able to do it. I think it genuinely is, with the 2-up save on the Crass Knight, with re-rolling 1s to hit. He's really, really versatile in this list. Add in maybe an assassin, like Jack said, that's a good idea, to hit their resources a little bit harder. Or you maybe put in that Eversaur assassin that can just go in, kill loads of orcs by himself anyway. He's actually rubbish in most matchups except orcs. He's exceptional against orcs. So, give that a try, mate.
All right, okay. I think I have got space for an assassin as well, so that doesn't really take any change to the list at all.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
All right, mate. Well, keep us informed now it goes against orcs.
Thank you. I will do.
Chris. Let's have a look, Chris.
What's happening, guys?
So, mate, you're doing pretty well so far.
I am. Yeah, I'm shocking myself every game I play, honestly.
So, what's been your hardest matchup at the moment?
Well, in the last 2 months of me playing, I've only lost 1 game.
Yep.
And that was just against Magnus and Morty at my last GT that I went to. And that one was rough because I had set it up. We only got to turn 4, and I had set up the game to where I was going to win on 5 and 6. But we ran out of time, and so I ended up losing by 4 points, and he had bottom of the turn. And so the game ended, and I had already killed Magnus and Morty, and he just had some Plague Bears left on the table, and I had complete board control at that point. So that was a really tough loss at the GT. We were not at this event. We were not. We had it was 2.5 hour rounds with like 10-minute cushion or something like that. If you had a turn, if you were in your turn, you could finish it out. But chest block would have been nice just because he had a lot of models he was moving around and a lot of psychic powers with Magnus going on and his demon princes and stuff.
So the way because a lot of lists now, and the way the game is going, games are taking longer than ever before. Okay, there's a lot more stratagems to keep things safe. There's a real mindset around keeping units safe and not letting things die so easily. So the unfortunate thing is, with the increase in Horde and very, very durable units like Plague or whatever, chess clocks are going to become absolutely paramount. Okay, and luckily we're in a culture where they're becoming a lot more accepted now. And especially if you open up that dialogue at the start of the game in the right way, you're going to be in a really strong position to make sure that this battle goes the way that you want it, which is all the way to turn 7. Because if you've got a tactical, flexible list, you want it to go to the end of time. I'm very similar with the Death Watch. I need my games to go to turn 7 to win. But the
only thing with at the moment, most tournaments don't forced issue. Like the LVO said, if someone wants to use a chess clock, you use one. But most tournaments don't do that. I can imagine it starts to become a thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
But so I know you took one to Battle for Birmingham and you had chat with the opponents. They're happy to use them. But if someone wanted to slow play you, even if they used a clock, they could tell you saying no, it doesn't matter because it's not in the events. That'd have to be a special kind of person, I think. I think if you had a chat before the game, as you said, open up the relationship, saying, look,
I think
let's have a nice fair game.
Yeah, I think definitely, like with the chess clock situation, the way that I breach it, and yeah, someone could still slow play you, right? But then you've got pretty decent evidence to go over to a TO and say, look, at this point, I've been really unhappy with this game. It hasn't gone to turn 6. My opponent ran out of time at their second turn, and they've been using my time ever since the game.
I've never thought of it that way. Really good.
Most TOs want the games to go to turn 6 or 7. Or
natural conclusion.
Yeah, they want that to happen. Most players want that as well.
Yeah.
So if someone refuses to use it, or it says, okay, yeah, let's use it, and then just goes against it, they're just an absolute, excuse my French, but dick. They just are. Like, they're not someone you ever want to play because they took the spirit of the game and they've basically manipulated it to their favor to game you out of what is a victory for you. Although they've agreed at the start of the game. So they're literally, for me, that's just a person you avoid playing at all costs in the future, and you just put it down and royally call them out for slow playing you. And it's acceptable then because you've got the evidence. It's hard to call someone a slow player if you don't have that evidence, or to really, because otherwise it throws whole jeopardy over your tactics. You don't want to put down on your analysis sheet, I lost this game, when you were in fact slow played. Like, that's not fair on yourself, So anyway, this is a bit of a different topic altogether, but I know Jared said here, my TOs ban them. They don't want to make it feel too competitive. The best thing I would do, Jared, is actually open up a discussion with him as well, away from the tournament, and say, look, the reason why chess clocks, and obviously me and Mark did an Ask VT on this in a bit more detail, but I'll give you the cliff notes, right? So for an experienced player, it manages resources, okay? So time is a resource. So it actually means that if this TO wants people to come to his tournaments and enjoy it, I'm paying for my time, okay, essentially. I'm playing to play a game, I'm playing for my time. If somebody takes it, I'm going to be pretty annoyed about that, and I've felt that in the past. So it's in his favor that people get equal amounts of resources because they're all playing the equal amount of money. The next thing is, if you open up every single start of the game with the same dialogue and you say, hey, really great to meet you, let's discuss terrain, I want to have a really fair game here, do you mind using a chess clock? I'm happy to teach you how to use it. It's very, very simple, but it just means that there's absolutely no pressure from me to do whatever. You can spend as long as you want making the decisions that you want to make, that you think are important to you. And essentially what happens is, even if you run out of time, you can still score cards, you can still hold objectives, you just can't interact because you've used that up. So it's completely over to you how you want to use your half of the game, and then I can use mine in the way that I want. So yeah, you open up that dialogue like that, and everyone's been really receptive to it. They're like, okay, cool. And do you know what? I've had people message me on Facebook, just bought my chess clock, just bought my chess clock. It's really becoming a good way.
It's going to happen.
It's really positive. And I can guarantee that was why I think I got 5 favorite game votes at Battlefield Birmingham, because of the way that I handled the start of the game. Because I wasn't there like, oh my God, he's been 20 minutes. Because at the Warhammer World GT, one guy spent over 15 minutes. One guy spent over 15 minutes thinking about how he was going to move one model, and I was getting a bit annoyed with him, and I wish I'd put a chess clock on him like I did with everyone else. But at this point, I was a bit sort of bummed out. But
right, chess clock around the side.
Yeah, so get them in place. Sorry,
Chris. I know that was just a general question about time. Was there any? You don't sound you are struggling at the moment, to be honest. But is there anything you want to discuss about your list, or particular units or armies that you want to have a quick discussion about?
I haven't really played against Tau at all, but I've watched lots of videos on how to beat them. Like I watched Manny Chima was on, I think that was D6 Evolution, and he talked about how to beat Tau.
Yeah.
And every Tau player I've talked to says if you kill my drones, then you go for my suits, it's pretty much game over. And then you just talking about how to beat Tau, keeping your essential shooters, so keeping your Helverns and your Crusader or your Castellan or whatnot out of their range, and picking on their stuff each turn, and then making them come to you, and then blowing them out of the water as soon as they get in the range.
Yeah, you just don't walk into Carrion range. Just don't do it. And just kill fire warriors. Yeah. First thing to do is get rid of all the fire warriors. So you can leave them with all the broadsides and with deadly firepower. They can't do anything. They can just shoot you and kill you, but it's not scoring any points.
The other thing you want to make sure you do is if you've got a multiple damage weapon, you put that on the suits regardless, because as soon as they roll a 1, they're now taking multiple damage, aren't they?
Yeah, or force a CP.
Yes, you force a CP roll. You're either making them spend resources, or they're taking damage on things they don't actually want to be taking damage on. Any small arms fire goes on the drones. Yeah. We had it in Belgium. Our three Krast player played Tau for the first time, and he put all of his Castellans on the drones, and they basically get the 4-up invuln, don't they?
Yeah.
So they get the higher invuln save, and also they get that feel no pain.
I took 5 from Castellan at battlefield. I took 5 wounds on the Riptide and killed a drone.
Yeah.
But he should have just he was splitting his fire all over the shop and things like that.
Yeah. So big, multiple damage on the broads, on the battle suits, small arm fire on the shield drones when possible. If you're going to charge, don't charge 1 unit, charge in multiple units, because you can only support fire once with a unit, can't you?
Yeah, but
what I mean is, rather than gifting a unit every turn, you just do it all in one go, and then they can only support fire against one unit.
So you're talking more multiple charges.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if I'm charging with multiple, I plan on charging with multiple units.
Yeah. You draw out the support fire. So once they do it, you make a decision.
Otherwise, he's going to be able to support fire, or she, let's keep it gender neutral here, is going to support fire, like let's say in turn 2, and then in turn 3, and then in turn 4, because you've sent in 1, then the next, then the next. You want to wait,
multiple times.
Bang. He can then pick, but the other 2 are going to come in a lot more safer there. And then even adding things in like something that can either avoid Overwatch, something like that is going to be really, again, the Eversaw is perfect for this. Out of line of sight, might take some SMS, you can put the Feel Up Pain on him, he goes in, and then when he blows up anyway, D6 mortal wounds, happy days. So maybe some characters that can deep strike in charge could be a little bit more of a use there for you in those matchups. So yeah, that could be an idea. But the other thing is, which is really good, which you often see against Tau, is the 3 characters that have the Farsight Marksman, which are typically from a different. So the Vindicator Assassin is very good because you can pick 1 and kill them, and then you can actually regenerate CPs off the back of that. So a couple of things there for you to think about in a Tau matchup. So I really like that. And Chris, obviously, when you start losing some games, you might have a couple of harder matchups. But so far, mate, you're doing really, really well. So well done. Top work, mate. Right. So, Gary.
Hello.
How's it going, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
So what are you struggling with at the moment then, Gary?
I'm kind of like Chris on the same front where I haven't lost in a while.
Good to hear.
But on the other side of that is I haven't played anything like the 9 flyer list.
Okay.
So it does kind of make me a bit nervous. I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with it.
So maybe get...
Just give us a brief overview of your list, just very quickly.
Loyal 32.
Yeah.
3 teams of mortars. Huron and a Primaris lieutenant with the grey shield.
Yep.
10-man intercessor veteran squad.
Mm-hmm.
Squad of scouts, a 5-man intercessor squad, 2 squads of eliminators.
Mm-hmm.
My Leviathan of storm arrays, hunter killers and flamers.
Mm-hmm.
And a Castellan knight.
And you got a Castellan in the list.
Yeah.
You got any psychic support?
I've also got enough points to plug in an assassin.
Yeah, so that's obviously going to help you a lot in that Jinx
I
matchup.
think Leviathan Dreadnought is a good unit in that matchup, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because he's got a stock hit on 2s, and typically Flyer's going to fly in range of you. So that's a big thing for the Leviathan.
Yeah.
So if you have the Leviathan next to your Castellan, if you want to jinx either of those units, you've got your range, and he can sit fire and pobble away.
The other good thing about the Law 32 with move is that you don't actually have to kill the flyers, but what you can do is position them in such a way that you can basically block out a massive area. So what you want to do is actually, and this is for all of you guys, take a spare flyer base to matches with you, okay? So then you can literally put it down and go, could you deploy here? Or could you put him down here? And then what you can start to do is go, look, mate, I'm
screened out.
This area is screened out, so you can't land here. So you can't Void Raven bomb this unit. You can't.
Or the flyer that blows up, isn't it?
Yeah. So basically, what you can do is force the flyer to go off the table.
Mm-hmm.
Because then what you can start to do then is basically move into positions where you're forcing. If they know that they can only move 20 inches, like that. Let's say they work it. So with the Dark Eldar flyers, can move off the table, but the Eldar flyers won't because they can pivot twice. But the Dark Eldar ones, you can actually move them, and then you only know where they're going in one place. You put one model there, all of a sudden they have to minimum move 20, be outside an inch of you, and you can basically delete it without it even going anywhere, okay? The other thing in the Eldar matchup as well is if you go first, they're probably going to play 2 CPs, and all of their prepared positions, their Eldar flyers are on a 2-up save, which is incredible. They're normally -2 to hit, so just avoid the Eldar flyers, okay? Put the Calexus in instead, okay, so you can avoid the psychic support. The Hemlocks have to come forward, all right? So they won't be they'll just be -1 for being a flyer, not -2. They've no longer got prepared positions, and actually then that helps you massively, okay?
And I think if you're worried about it, if you're a local club or something, ask someone to bring it, and if no one will even proxy it, just to see what it's like, or similar to 6 flyers or something, just to hopefully just try and get over that, so you can see how it works, how it operates on the table.
Yeah. Does that help?
Yeah, no, that's great help.
Giving you some ideas, yeah?
Yeah. The other question is, and that's quickly about my list, and obviously a GT coming up. Is it worth? Do you think the Castellan is 2-point hungry?
CP hungry?
Yeah.
It's hard. I don't really think so, because your Space Marines don't really need that many CPs to function, do they? You use the CP for the I can imagine the
and the assassins, I guess. Like the assassins.
Yeah. Also, guys, the assassin, by the way, is put in deep strike in your deployment phase. So if you've got your farming character on the board before you declare which assassin you're going to use, you can basically roll to see if you get that.
Free roll
that you get another roll up to see if you get that thing back. So basically, what the other thing is there then, I would keep the Castellan is great. He's such a good unit. I was going to say probably the veterans that you use the stratagem so that they get 4 shots each, right?
Yeah.
So that's obviously, what's that, 1 CP or 2?
1.
Yeah, so it's cheap as chips and amazing. So I think keep him in, mate. I really do like the Crass Knight. I think he offers a lot more for a lot cheaper resources.
I really like the Crusader.
But then my Death Watch need a lot more resources than your Space Marines do. So I think if you're used to using him, he's got such potency to pick a unit and kill it. It's incredible. So I'd keep him in, mate.
Okay, thanks.
If it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Until the FAQ comes out. Then we'll have this chat.
Yeah, I'm thinking that in about a week's time.
Yeah. But, mate, best of luck with that, all right? And obviously, I've got your Battlefield ticket, all right? You're down on their sheet now.
Yeah, awesome.
All right,
Thank you.
No worries. Right, so let's go over to Brian.
Okay. You guys can hear me?
Oh, we've got a bit of a interference here.
Can you hear me?
We can't hear very well, Brian.
Let me see if I can't make it a little clearer. Is that getting better?
It's getting better, but
yeah, you're really crackly.
I've got a daughter that's. Let's see. Okay. Okay, is this any better?
Yes,
Perfect.
happy days.
Okay. I have a daughter that's just yelling at me from the other room. I'm trying to not turn my microphone up too loud.
So what are you struggling with at the moment, mate?
So right now, the most difficult thing, I mean, the only army I've lost to recently is Gene Stealer Cult. And it was partially because my opponent just timed me out because we weren't on a clock. And I was just, you know, he had a really stripped down list, wasn't really open about any information. And so I was like, okay, I kind of know what I'm going against. I know the Keller Morphs are pretty rough. I know the Patriarch can do a lot of damage, but I just let him kind of cheese me out of a victory. And so like, that's the only thing that I'm dealing with is making sure I bring a clock, making sure that I know my list and my opponent's list, and then, you know, hoping that I can win from there.
So that's a shame to hear that, you know, but like for most games that I play, or people ask me questions are quite open and honest, you know, not giving away statistics, but not drawing information to make it a bit of a naff game, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
But it wasn't very enjoyable because that just sounds rubbish, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's pretty bad, mate. So is there any armies that you're struggling with at the moment?
I mean, the last thing before that was Orcs. I was just playing, you know, 3 knights with the Loyal 32 and not the Loyal 32, the Rusty 17.
Yeah.
And 10, you know, Wrath of Mars infiltrators. And once I switched to, you know, veterans, Deathwatch veterans, and 1 knight, it got a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Mate, good.
So.
That's good. That is a good life choice, you know.
Hey, when I can take, you know, between 36 and 40 shots with bolters and wounding on 2s, you know, I'm gonna do it.
Yep. No. Okay. Nice. So that will obviously help your orc matchup massively by taking that one change. So what we'll do then is obviously when I interview Jeff, we can really get the lowdown on Gene Stealer Cult, and I think that will supplement this video really, really well. But guys, look, you've had a bit of an idea now about what the sort of stuff that we want to ask you as well. So when obviously you start filling out these sheets, get yourself a folder, guys. You know, I'd love to get you a printed Vanguard Tactics folder, maybe in the future. That could be wicked to get all this information in, but for now we don't have it. So you have to make your own folder. Get this stuff in, because if you can do that, then when you come to these meetings, we can discuss it. You know, you've got the evidence there, because although you might win these games, there could be points where it really challenge you or really struggling with. So is there anything else, Jack, or is that we wrapped everything up?
Just got some musings on predictions.
Yeah.
Quickly, just give our final 5 minutes on where we think the meta might go.
Yeah.
So we got next FAQs next month, so we know things will change.
Yeah.
I think we just touched on the Castellan, public enemy number 1 after RVO, I think. So I think there's good chances points or maybe Knights Invulns might get capped at 4 up, but there's most likely to be something happening tonight.
Yeah.
What else we got on there?
Vigilus, Chaos. Yeah. Chaos are going to really change things up now, looking at some of their
rules look tasty.
Yeah, I'm very tempted with the Chaos Army myself now.
They just sound interesting.
Yeah.
And you can always see the combos coming through.
Do like a combo bolter.
And the same with the Shadow Spear, the new Space Marine guys, the Vanguard stuff. You can start to see combos.
Yeah.
I'm quite, in my head, kind of figuring out where I want to go, but you could start to feel something coming.
You know, it will shake things up. It'll be good.
The Gene Stealer Cult Blood with the rule.
Yeah. So this was one thing that I mentioned earlier, was that looking at the Gene Stealer Cult Blood Brother rule, basically, if you're not familiar with that, when they ally in guard, they only get half the CPs for it, rounding up, I think.
Yeah.
So for a battalion, they only get 3 CPs rather than 5. They also don't benefit from a lot of the other bits and bobs of the Gene Stealer Cult. So that could be a good way that soup go in the future. still might be applicable, but maybe you only get half the amount of CPs if it's not in your
Starts to make a
warlord's
difference.
detachment. Yeah,
Yeah.
it will really push things towards single faction, which is really where we want the game to go. You know, that sort of fluff bunny inside us all is there somewhere. Jack is he's pretty fluffy.
I'm
a lot less fluffy, but anyway. Mark is probably the fluffiest out of all of us. He's I could love a good narrative story, and I'm like, shut up, Mark.
Yeah, we're not always playing with the Eldar Cyclones and Dark Eldars. I'm not having that one bit.
Yeah. So that could be a way that things go.
Yeah. So a closing note, it feels like GW announced this week that the Chaos Space Marine Codex will be digitally updated.
Yeah.
For no charge for people who've got it. You know, we've released stuff from White Dwarf, the Shadow Spear, you know, the FAQs coming out. I think that the rate of change in rules is only accelerating, and it will continue to accelerate, which is great because it keeps the meta evolving to avoid the game becoming stale. And
now I've become friends with a lot of the rules writer at GW, then we can hopefully infiltrate and get some good ideas into there. So, But no, it's all good stuff, guys. It's all good stuff. Anyway, look, it's been a great call. I think we covered some really good, interesting bits for you to go away and have a think about some of this stuff. Obviously, next call in 2 weeks' time, and we'll be going over what's next on the menu. So we'll give you guys a bit of a sneak peek now because we've got the syllabus written.
Yeah, over the last few weeks, the team's starting to really get together and just getting stuff more worked through. Tournament packs and mission reviews is the next one. Yeah. So we'll go through ETC, ITC, chapter approved, and all that kind of good stuff. You know, maybe have another chess clock rant in there as well.
There'll definitely be a chess clock rant in there. So yeah, everything will be about preparing for a tournament essentially and what we need to do for it. So as you guys start gearing up towards the season, let's really get everything honed in and on point. All right, guys. Well, look, it's been absolutely quality. So I'll speak to you guys in 2 weeks' time. I'll speak to you in the Facebook group anyway with some updates. And but as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you so much for being part of obviously Team Vanguard Tactics. It means a lot to us. And you guys are killing it at the moment. So keep doing it. All right.
Y'all are a bunch of legends.
What is it called?
Take it easy, guys.
Thanks,
Peace.